J. Krishnamurti, at the outset of his life's work some 40 years ago, said that his only concern was to set men absolutely, unconditionally free. In his talks, Krishnamurti is asking for a particular kind of participation on the part of the audience. He is not giving a predetermined lecture to which the audience listens with agreement or disagreement. He is not presenting a point of view. He is not doing propaganda for an idea, belief, or dogma, or leading the audience to a particular conclusion. Instead, the speaker and listeners together are exploring human problems. Krishnamurti began to speak along his present lines in 1929, when he repudiated all connections with organized religions and ideologies. Since that time, Krishnamurti has continued to travel the world, speaking, discussing, and writing. He is the author of many books, among them The Awakening of Intelligence, The Urgency of Change, Freedom from the Known, and The Flight of the Eagle. This is the third in a series of 4 talks given at San Diego State University.
I would like, if I may, this evening, talk about the implications of meditation and what is necessary for a mind that is capable of really true meditation. What is the first step, as it were? First of all, I think one has to understand the meaning of the word freedom. For most of us, freedom implies freedom to express ourselves, or freedom to do what we like in society, or freedom to think what we like, or freedom from a particular tiresome habit or a particular idiosyncrasy, and so on. To understand what is freedom, because that is, it seems to him, absolutely necessary for a mind that's capable, without any distortion, to be able to meditate. For most of us, we demand freedom politically or religiously, or to think what we like. And there is the freedom of choice. Political freedom is all right, and one must have it. But for most of us, we never demand and find out whether it is at all possible to be free inwardly. Our mind is a slave to its own projections, to its own demands, to its own desires and fulfillments. The mind is a slave to its cravings, to its appetites. And apparently, we never ask whether it is at all possible to be free inwardly. But we are always wanting freedom outwardly, to go against the society, against a particular structure of society. And this revolt against society, which is taking place all over the world, is a form of violence which indicates that one is concentrating on an outward change without the inward change. So, violence plays an extraordinary part in our life. We never asked whether the mind can be completely and utterly free from violence. We have accepted it as part of life, as we have accepted war as the way of life. And we have our favorite wars. You may not like this particular war, but you don't mind having other kinds of wars. And there will be always wars, and there have been for 5,000 years wars, because man has accepted violence as the way of life. And we never question whether the mind can be really and truly, deeply be free of violence. And the permissive society in which we live, the culture in which is gradually coming out of this society, to do what one likes or choose what one likes, is still an indication of violence. Where there is choice, there is no freedom. Choice implies confusion, not clarity. When you see something very clearly, there is no choice, there is only action. It's only a confused mind that chooses. And choice is an indication of the lack of freedom. And therefore, in choice, there is resistance, conflict. And so, our life as it is now is based on violence. Our life is conditioned by the verb to be. Please, this is important to understand how our life is guided and conditioned by the verb to be. One has been, one is, and one will be. The idea in that verb is to arrive, to succeed, to achieve, to become. Gradually attain peace. Gradually get rid of the things that hinder us. So the verb to be is the conditioning of the mind in time. Right? Do please follow this. Because enlightenment is not a matter of time at all. Understanding is not a matter of gradual sensitivity. Either one understands it immediately or not at all. And as long as the mind is conditioned by that verb, and as most minds are, all our moral structure is based on that. I will be good. I will gradually achieve a certain state of mind, and so on. So, one has to be aware of this dangerous word and find out whether the mind can be free of word. Because the word is never the thing. The description is never the described. And yet we are satisfied with the description, with the explanations. So, as I said, we are going to go into this question of not only what is meditation, and I believe that's a new word that you have learned in this country, brought from the East. And one doesn't know the full meaning of that word. But before we go into that, which is a very complex and the most important thing, meditation. It's the most beautiful thing in life if you know what meditation is. But before one can meditate, one must understand what is living, what is love, and what is death. If you don't understand that, your meditation is merely an escape, is a form of self-hypnosis. Right? So you must lay the foundation. Not gradually. There must be order, for the mind can fully comprehend the significance of what meditation is. There must be complete order, which means the end of all conflict, all disturbance, all disorder within oneself. Otherwise, you are sitting down in a corner by yourself for 10 minutes a day and thinking you are going to meditate or achieve enlightenment is nonsense, if you don't mind my saying so. So one has to understand what living is. And one can understand that only by observing what actually it is. Not in opposition to a concept, to a formula, to an ideology, but actually what it is. So one must be free to observe actually what our life is, not what it should be. If you are thinking in terms of what it should be, then you are totally avoiding what actual life is. So what is this life that we are living? This life, the actual daily life, is disorder. Isn't it? There's conflict. There is driving ambition. There is battle in ourselves, opposing, contradictory desires and wills. Endless frustrations. And there is frustration because we've never understood what fulfillment is. And if there is such thing as fulfillment, what is there to fulfill? One's own particular little ambition? One's own appetites? Envies, ambitions to be somebody? And what is it that center that demands all this? Is not that very center the cause of disorder? And without bringing about order in that life, complete mathematical order, life has very little meaning. Going to the office every day for the rest of the 60 years or 40 years, living in this constant battle between what is and what should be, between the frustrated ambitions and the simple, clear, beautiful life. The images that one has built about oneself and about others. The self-centered activity that's going on all the time, which is isolating each one, and therefore dividing. And that's our life. A life of conflict, a life that has really no meaning as it is. A life that is a battlefield, not only in yourself but also in your relationship. A life of division, contradiction, routine, monotonous. and a life that is, when you look at it very deeply, utterly lonely. A life that has no beauty. And that is our life. And we are not exaggerating it. If you observe yourself very carefully, without any prejudice, bias, when you look at every human being right through the world, the saint, the priest, the specialist, the careerist, the ordinary layman, are all caught in this. And we want to escape from it. And so you escape through nationalism, through beliefs, through dogmas, through innumerable forms of entertainment, in which is included the religious entertainment. That's our life. Comparing ourselves with something that should be, comparing ourselves with the greater, with the nobler, with the more intelligent, with the more spiritual, and so on and on and on. Therefore, conflict and fear. This is our life. A battle for security, and in the very search of security, psychological as well as physical, we bring about destruction. These are obvious facts. And from this we want to escape, because man has lived like this for thousands and thousands of years, with sorrow, confusion, and great misery and mischief. And without changing all that completely, radically, mere outward revolution, changing a particular system for another system, does not solve this aching agony there is only one revolution, the inward revolution. So, spitting on society, blaming society for your condition, is obviously blaming something which you have created. It's your society. You have built it by your greed, envy, ambition, competitiveness, comparison, by one's own and inward hatreds, violence. So that is our life. Really quite insane life. Now, the question is, how can that life be changed? not gradually, but immediately. Otherwise, you're sowing the seed of violence. Though you may want peace, you are actually sowing the seeds of enmity, misery. So, seeing all this, non-verbally, not as an explanation, not as an idea, but seeing it actually as it is, feeling it as you would feel hunger. Therefore, being intimately related to it. And you cannot be deeply, beautifully related to this living, which we call life, as long as you have any form of escape from it, any form of distortion. So, awareness without choice, to be aware of this whole phenomenon of existence, not someone else's existence, not being aware of this, of our life according to somebody, some philosopher, some guru, some psychologist, but being aware of it actually, because you yourself see it. If one is so completely aware of it, and one must, because one cannot possibly live as we are living. We're talking inwardly, psychologically. A life that's torn. And if we want order, and order is virtue, order demands discipline. That is to learn, not to conform, not to imitate, but to learn. And to learn about the disorder, which is our life. To observe it, to learn. And in that observation comes an extraordinary discipline, not imposed by anybody, because the very observation itself has its own discipline. In the very act of observing, you are learning, and therefore the learning is the discipline. Please do see this, because we have imposed upon ourselves so many disciplines. The business discipline, the religious discipline, the family discipline. Of course, the military discipline is the most absurd kind of discipline.